Karen stood ankle-deep in filth, her pink suit completely ruined, while the crowd of tourists was crying with laughter. She was gasping for air, shaking with rage. "I'm a blogger! I have 50,000 followers!" she shrieked, waving her phone. But what happened just 1 second later made everyone freeze. Let's start from the very beginning. This channel won't survive without your subscription and likes. Help me! London's afternoon was anything but peaceful. As usual, tourists swarmed around Buckingham Palace, eagerly snapping photos of the royal guard. Among them, one person stood out, a woman named Karen. She was a full-figured, 40-something woman dressed in a ridiculous pink suit, with oversized sunglasses covering her round face. Her blonde, slightly unkempt hair was tied up in a messy bun, and in her hand she clutched a bag of candy. "Oh my God, what a cute horse!" she screeched, shoving her way through the crowd. Her target, a guardsman on a black horse, standing motionless at the gate. He was a young, fair-skinned man, around 25, with an icy expression that betrayed no emotion. He was the embodiment of British discipline. Red uniform, tall bearskin hat, and absolute indifference. But Karen wasn't the type to take no for an answer. She reached into her bag and pulled out a handful of candies. "Oh, you poor thing, you must be hungry, huh?" she cooed, extending her hand toward the horse's muzzle. The crowd of tourists started murmuring, phones raised to record the scene. Everyone knew one rule: you don't touch the guards, let alone their horses. But Karen didn't care. She was just about to make contact with the animal when a sharp, commanding voice cut through the air. "Step back from the horse!" The guardsman, who had stood as still as a statue, suddenly came to life. He took a firm step forward and raised his saber. His strict voice made the air grow heavy, and the people around him recoiled. But not Karen. She merely scowled. "Don't you yell at me, Mr. Queen's Guard. It's just candy. What, you don't want your horse to be happy?" she shrieked, waving the caramel sweets in the air. The crowd exchanged glances. The situation was heating up. Instead of backing off, Karen stepped even closer to the horse, ignoring the uneasy silence around her. The guardsman didn't move, but his gaze was full of icy patience, patience that was about to snap. The crowd held its breath. "She wants a candy, look!" Karen insisted, shoving a caramel right under the horse's nostrils. And then something unexpected happened. The horse suddenly jerked its head back with a loud, startled snort. At the same moment, the guardsman made a sharp move, not with his sword but with his shoulder, forcefully pushing Karen back. The crowd gasped. People started shouting and filming. "Oh my God, he pushed her!" "The guard hit a woman!" Karen clutched her chest, gasping dramatically for air. Then, like a scorned cat, she collapsed onto the ground, pursing her lips and hissing in fury. "I'm suing you!" she screamed. "Do you even know who I am? This is an assault. I'm American. You're all witnesses." The crowd buzzed with excitement. Some sympathized with Karen, others laughed, and many were already uploading their videos to TikTok. The crowd froze. Phone cameras remained locked on the scene, tourists holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The guardsman, however, acted as if nothing had happened. He stood still, his gaze fixed in the distance, as though neither Karen nor the stunned onlookers even existed. But Karen wasn't the type to back down. "Where's your police? This is physical assault. This is injustice!" she screeched, breathing heavily, flailing her arms like an enraged conductor. The crowd stirred. A suppressed chuckle broke out. Someone whispered, "What a show!" Karen, her face now bright red with anger, attempted to stand up, but her shoe slipped on the damp pavement. She flailed wildly and fell straight into a fresh pile of horse manure. Splat! For a moment, there was dead silence, and then the crowd erupted with laughter. "Oh my God, not this!" someone cackled from the front row. "The guardsman didn't even move, and she still lost." A man snorted, holding up his camera. People were filming in vertical mode, fingers flying across screens, tweets being composed in real time. A teenager bent over, laughing so hard he slapped his knees. Karen took a few seconds to process what had happened. Then, with great effort, she pulled herself up. She was a mess, covered in stains, her pink suit ruined, her hair a chaotic disaster. Panting, dirty, furious, she stood there, a giant ball of rage. "I demand compensation," she shrieked, flinging her arms around and splattering filth everywhere. "This is discrimination. This is a violation of tourist rights. You Brits just hate Americans." The crowd giggled again. "Pretty sure the horse hates you too," someone shouted, causing another burst of laughter. Karen spun around in a fury, her face burning with humiliation. She pulled out her phone and started yelling into the camera. "My followers will see this. I will destroy you all." But before she could finish her rant, 2 uniformed police officers appeared from around the corner. They walked toward her with a mix of exhaustion and firm authority. Men who had clearly dealt with far too many Karens in their careers. The crowd buzzed with excitement. "Oh, this is gonna be good," someone muttered with a smirk. The officers exchanged a glance. Karen, still covered in grime, shaking with rage and waving her phone in the air, was gearing up for another tirade, but it was clear her time was running out. The crowd was still laughing, some people literally on their knees from laughing too hard. Karen, trembling with fury, stood ankle-deep in a puddle of filth, desperately trying to look like a victim. The 2 officers approached slowly, their expressions unreadable. They had clearly seen too many tourists who thought they could break British discipline. One officer, a tall, dark-skinned man in his 40s with a strong jawline and sharp eyes, crossed his arms, surveying the scene. A majestic, unmoving royal guard on his horse, a hysterical woman covered in dirt, dozens of tourists filming every second. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice laced with tired indifference, as if this were the 200th Karen of the day. Karen's face instantly shifted. Her anger morphed into over-the-top tragedy. She gasped, her mouth wide open, and then the crocodile tears began. He... She choked, struggling for words. "That soldier attacked me." The crowd stirred. A few people chuckled off camera. "He pushed me." Karen's voice wobbled, dripping with fake distress. "And then his horse. His horse," she gasped dramatically. "Spit on me." The crowd lost it. "That horse is a true patriot," someone shouted, triggering another wave of laughter. The officers exchanged looks. The dark-skinned officer pressed his lips together, fighting a smirk, while his red-haired partner, a man in his mid-30s, subtly gestured toward the guardsman. "Did you touch her?" The guardsman did not move. His expression remained completely blank, as though he wasn't even in the same dimension as the screaming tourist in front of him. "Sir?" the officer asked again, raising an eyebrow, but the guardsman remained silent, his gaze fixed somewhere in the great beyond, as if the only thing that existed were his royal orders, carved in stone. "Oh, of course!" Karen exploded. "Of course, you're covering for him. This is a conspiracy." She grabbed her phone, her fingers flying across the screen. "I'm filing a complaint. I'm a blogger. I have 50,000 followers." The crowd collapsed. The laughter was so loud it might have been heard inside Buckingham Palace itself. "Oh my God, she thinks she's famous," someone wheezed. 50,000? My grandma gets more likes baking cookies," a man cackled, setting off another riot of laughter. The dark-skinned officer exhaled, rubbing his face. "Ma'am, you need to come with us. Let's calm this down." Karen hissed like an angry cat. "I'm not going anywhere," she screeched, attempting to take a step back, but slipped again. The officers caught her mid-fall, stopping her from landing face first in the mud again. "Let me go. This is a crime. I'm an American citizen." Yes, ma'am." the red-haired officer muttered, clearly done with the situation, as they started leading her away. The crowd cheered. "Best part of the day," someone shouted. "Let this be a lesson, kids. Never mess with the Royal Guard," another joked. Karen thrashed in the officer's grip, but it was over. They dragged her around the corner. And the guardsman? He never blinked. His face remained utterly impassive, as if this was just another day at Buckingham Palace, where yet another American Karen lost a battle against the unshakable British Royal Guard.